right, everyone, welcome in to Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. Here on this February 21st, episode 168. It is freezing here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. Well, it is a perfect night to watch some hockey, as I feel like a lot of people in the United States are doing tonight. I'm Nikolai from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and joining me from Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil is Gus Tomazelli. Gus, how are you doing tonight?
Here in at least in countryside of Sao Paulo, state, it's really hot. I mean, it's one of the hottest weeks ever for the month of February. So my AC is on, but I'm doing good. Ready to talk some sports. And actually, let's start with the sport that we normally don't start it, right?
Right. Obviously, the biggest sport of the night tonight is hockey. The United States and Canada are fighting for the championship of the Four Nations face-off, which effectively was the replacement for the NHL All-Star game. And there's four nations: Canada, US, Finland, and Sweden. And Canada and the United States have had a pair of incredibly intense games. One back on Saturday, and then the other one tonight. And Canada just won. Canada has won the championship in Boston. That's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, especially with all the kind of uh, symbolism that this game had, not only in terms of on the ice, but off the ice as well, with political implications and the booing of national anthems that Canada fans had with the U.S. anthem and U.S. fans with Canada anthem and everything, and especially being in Boston, a city where represents so much for U.S. history. Um, yeah, that's a true. That's a shocker.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a shocker. I mean, Canada has a better team. They have better top line players, but still, I mean, being in Boston, America had multiple chances to win this game, and they just were not able to tonight. Just weren't able to. I mean, they scored two goals in the first period, did not score again after the first period. And when you get so many chances against a highly talented team like Canada, it just didn't work out here for the Americans. But I will say, that was an incredible game, an incredibly intense game, and definitely a gut wrenching one for the Americans to lose. But hey, this sets the stage next year for the 2026 Olympics as NHL players return to the Olympics next year. And there's been some absolute bangers in 2010, 2014, the last couple of times the Americans were at the Olympics. That NHL players were at the Olympics. So, yeah, so Canada wins 3-2. And I mean, that is just man, Canadians should have got to be on top of the world right now after that one, because this is their sport. They haven't won the Stanley Cup in 30 something years, but at the very least, their national team uh, just came into Boston and took us out.
Yeah, it definitely, especially as I said, because of all the political implications that all the countries are kind of facing, and all the things that represent off the ice. Definitely, and I'll go to a broader discussion. Is it a good strategy for an all-star game? Because as you said it perfectly, this game, was a replacement for the NHL All-Star game, and I bet no hockey fan would like. Oh boy, I would rather have the best. Let's say. Um, I would have it go to a traditional system where the Eastern versus Western or something like this. I feel like hockey fans got pleased with what they had throughout this tournament instead of a meaningless weekend like other league had.
Yeah, and this is the thing. The NHL actually figured out how to have stakes in their All Star game. They figured out how to make this game actually matter. And even though, like, yes, as an American, it sucks that we lost this match. It, you know, the game mattered. Like, as you mentioned, that other league we're going to get to here in just a second, that nothing mattered in that All Star weekend. I mean, this you can tell on the American players' faces that they are devastated that they lost this match. Like, it's incredible that they were able to create an event that really had no meaning, and they gave it all the meaning in the world. But I think, it goes beyond just the format. We have to have a broader discussion too on, do are players in different leagues just built different? Like, I think hockey players may just care more about their sport than basketball players do. And that might be a hot take. PK Subban earlier made this argument first take of, it's you can't really half-ass hockey. You can half-ass basketball, but you can't half-ass hockey. It's impossible to. It's really physical. It's really demanding, and you can't just go and scroll around out there. You can't really do the whole load management thing. There's no Joel Embiid's in hockey. There's no LeBron James, sitting out because of ankle soreness in hockey.
And I'll go even deeper than that. Comparing leagues is, let's say, the NBA to the NHL. And do you think this like moment, the success of the for the success of the Four Nations tournament and the decline of the NBA All Star Game, and do you think it can be a swift trend because for like forever the NHL was kind of the least important league compared to the other three, but I don't know, maybe the trend will reverse.
Right. Well, the NBA is in danger of becoming the most irrelevant league because of the fact that they have just alienated so many fans. But there's a reason why the ratings have gone down the way that they have. I mean, I'll be curious to see how many people watch this match tonight. I just know, looking at my Twitter timeline, everyone on the timeline seemed to be talking about this match. I've never seen that for a hockey game in my life. There were people who have never tweeted about hockey before, talked about hockey, who are watching that game tonight. And that is massive because I think you're going to see some people stick around and they're going to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs here in a few weeks. I'm going to be really curious when I'll be curious to get like Dylan Becker's take on this one day about what he thinks. Because I mean, for him, this has to be just insane to see hockey get this much attention from just a casual viewer. Like, and heck, I'm a casual viewer when it comes to hockey. I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to the line changes and zones and all the other stuff that um, goes into hockey strategy. Now, I would probably watch more hockey than the average person, but still, like, especially for someone from the South, where you can't just go and skate on an ice pond here, right? Like, they don't really exist around here. Um, it's always going to be an uphill battle for hockey in America. But the fact that more people are going to watch this event than the NBA All Star game, that should never happen in the United States. But it's going to, because Adam Silver has completely bungled the product that is the NBA.
And also, it's funny how the NBA, which couple of, let's say, 10, 15 years ago, felt like the league that was going to dominate also internationally, that was expanding, games overseas. I remember LeBron's first game return to the Cavs was actually in Brazil. Of course, it was a preseason game, but in Brazil, China, Europe. But, even that is not you know, we cannot say that because the NFL really is strongly expanding their horizons overseas, and we're definitely going to talk about the expansion that they announced this week. Um, the games, the international games, and they're going strongly to Europe, strongly to South America, and even that the NBA felt like they're stagnated. They are, they don't know where to go anymore.
Well, let's see. The NBA, they forgot the number one rule of business. You don't alienate your core audience. Basketball was born in the United States. Basketball, at its core, is an American sport. Now, it's amazing that it's gone global, that you can play it anywhere in the world, but it has its roots here. All the teams outside of the Raptors are here in the United States. And if you lose the domestic audience, then you're eventually going to have a problem in terms of profitability, in terms of just keeping kids interested in the game. Like right now, who is the young American basketball star people are excited about? Where's the LeBron in this generation? He's not American. Like all the young stars right now, I mean, you look at SGA, he's Canadian. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama, we'll talk about him in a moment. He's from France. There is no good, like, young American superstar that Americans
There's
are
no
about.
there's no face of the league where the core audience, which is American sports fans, can relate to. And that's the problem because you need something that you can connect to in sports.
Right. And additionally, like, I mean, this problem trickles down to college basketball. Who's the star in college basketball? Like, who's that star? Like, because I have a hard time naming one. Like, people are going to watch March Madness like crazy in a month, but they're not tuning in for a specific star. And
Yeah, yeah, because college basketball is a strongly American tradition because of the format. Is probably uh, the biggest playoff in American sports in terms of the number of rounds, the number of teams, and that's why people tune in because they're used to that format, used to that tradition. But there's no game people will like. Oh, that game is a must watch.
exactly. And that's the thing with the NBA. Like, I just put on the Spurs and I believe the Suns. Like, I have barely watched any full season or any regular season games of the NBA. I don't think I've watched a single full one from start to finish all year because there's too many games. They just don't matter. Um, and like, I'll come back for the playoffs, but I don't know truly how excited I'm going to be for them. Uh, when you really look at the product this past week, so Gus, it was a 3-hour broadcast on Sunday from 8 to 11, the All Star game. Do you know how much of the 3-hour broadcast was spent actually playing basketball?
I think it was like 48 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 42. I mean, it was not much. I mean, literally not even a third of the total runtime. They spent more time with musical acts, Kevin Hart comedy skits, and a Mr. Beast challenge than actual basketball. Like, how are people supposed to take it seriously? We just watched an absolute spectacle tonight in Boston between the US and Canada that had two countries on the edge of their seats. And the NBA is out here doing Mr. Beast challenges and letting Kevin Hart like just ridicule them the entire time.
I think because the NBA wants to appeal so much to the young generation and social media kind that that should be an add-on, not your main thing. Like your main thing should be how can we make this appealing to sports fans? How can we make the average fan would be interested in our product? And I feel like the NBA kind of lost themselves. And I don't know where I saw this. It's just I think it was Colin Cowherd that said uh, players running the league not ideal. Is the opposite. Players are important, but they cannot run the league because the league has to think, a lot of factors that goes into a success. Like for example, Roger Goodell in the NFL, he knows the players are important, but he has an independent mentality because he wants what's best for the football franchises in the business. I think the Adam Silver, and you see on his face too, he's kind of paralyzed. He's kind of, I don't want to upset the players. Players, have control, and then with this attitude, he tend to make the league weak.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that he might be worse than Rob Manfred.
Oh
And
yeah, oh yeah, I agree with that. Even though Rob Manfred has been also weak in some decisions, has not know how to deal with this new spending in baseball or some controversial rule changes, the scandals that affected the league in terms of cheating. uh, he is still making the product interesting. I mean, look what the ratings for baseball gone up, but the NBA is feels like kind of trying the audience that are not what their goal should be.
right, I mean, the NBA is the only one that's really just ham over fist losing viewers. Like, of course, the NFL's king, and like they're not going to challenge the NFL. But the fact is, I mean, they're losing ground. It feels like to the MLB. It feels like the NHL is catching up. I mean, we'll see what the long term impacts of this Four Nations tournament. I mean, I think there'll be a small bump. I don't think there'll be like a permanent bump, but I do think there were some new hockey fans created tonight. And the NBA right now is not doing anything to create new basketball fans. And it doesn't help when LeBron doesn't show up to play for the All Star game. It doesn't help when basketball doesn't appear to be the main attraction. And doesn't help when, to me, like stuff like the slam dunk contest is just boring and repetitive. And I just think there's just a lot of negativity around the game, and some of that comes from fans, some of that comes from the media. And I don't know, like there has to be a positive energy. I mean, look at what the positive energy around Caitlin Clark last year and Angel Reese did for women's basketball. Like the ratings went through the roof because people wanted to watch Caitlin Clark. They wanted to enjoy something about basketball again. People love basketball. They want to watch that sport. But the NBA is giving them nothing to be excited about right now. And that's why you're not seeing the same in any NBA game like you're seeing for the NHL tonight.
Yeah, I mean, uh, and you point out a great example of uh, a, a big factor that made the WNBA have a tremendous success last year in terms of uh, ratings and people caring about the product, which was a players' rivalry. Because since now players dictate so much of basketball and people care more about players than the teams. I feel like if they had like some sort of antagonist between like a version of Kalen Clark and Angel Reese in the NBA, people will be interested in. But the players right now are too shy. Like you don't see any loudmouth star in the NBA, especially now because of all the international athletes that are dominating the league. They of course don't want to, you know, uh, be an extrovert, be like a loudmouth because they're not in their country. Like they're all shy. Luca, Jokic, Embiid, yeah, Giannis. They're they are amazing basketball players, but they are not stars. Stars, I mean,
That's
in
what I
terms
think
of
plays a part into it. There's just not a lot of great players in the NBA. Every one of those hockey players to me seemed like that they were very tough and that they were given all that they had. And I just don't know how you get these basketball players to feel stakes again. And that's the real key. And that's a question that maybe someone other than Adam Silver can talk about, because some people are going to blame like politics, right? Like they embraced woke stuff and this and that, and that's why the ratings cratered. The NBA is just not an interesting product. I mean, the NFL had in racism like in their end zones. Their ratings didn't crater, right? The quote unquote
yeah,
woke stuff.
uh, I mean, look what they had to deal with Colin Kaepernick. You know, you might love him or hate him, but he was a controversial figure that started a movement with kneeling at the national anthem, and you don't see the league itself uh, being affected by this.
Right. And because the Super Bowl just had literally the biggest ratings ever for any television program in American history. Um, yeah, so it's gonna be fascinating. It's just crazy the past week how much the NHL has been praised versus how the NBA has just taken it on the chin. And it's sad because I grew up loving the NBA. I want to see the NBA be great. But the NBA right now has by far the worst product of any major sport in America. And that sucks. And hopefully it'll be fixed. I mean, part of the problem is analytics, but effectively, if these teams have solved basketball, then you can't make them unsolve it in terms of like the shooting 3 pointers. And of course, then you got the officiating problems. I don't know. It's tough. But the first things first is stop trying to like
Oh,
gas
so,
up. Or go ahead.
first of all, shout out to my friend Rafael Della Vedova. Rafa, are you can't sleep as well? Tá sem sono, Rafa? He's still happy with his Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl, but he ended up falling asleep by the end of the game. I mean, understandable. I mean, the game was probably over by the end of the third quarter. But shout out my friend Rafael Della Vedova, big Eagles fan, still happy about the uh, Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you should be. You should be celebrating that until September. I mean, that's awesome that your team won the Super Bowl. I don't think my team will ever win the Super Bowl, but so enjoy that for me.
Oh, okay. He said he's working on the video for tomorrow. He's working on the video that we're gonna show tomorrow for the players about Rio Branco's opponent on Saturday. Oh, got it.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it's almost 2 a.m. in Brazil, so
Yeah.
that's here in America. So, um, but yeah, but definitely, still, I mean, as an Eagles fan, you deserve to celebrate that Super Bowl win all all week long. All right, moving to some other things real quick. The other big news of the day in the NBA: Victor Wembanyama is out for the season. Found a blood clot in his right shoulder. This is scary. If I remember correctly, I think Trey Smith had something similar to this. He had a blood clot when he was at Tennessee, and he had to miss some time. And blood clots they're no joke, right? Like I mean, it's a very serious condition, and I hope and pray that Wembanyama can come back next season and uh, and still be a great player because he's such a young and talented player, and he took such a step forward. But obviously outside of his health, this is another blow for the NBA because that was the thing I was probably most excited to see in this postseason was what Wemby was going to do in this playoff, and it just we're not going to get to see that now. So the NBA is really now in a tough spot because they don't have Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, it's a scary thing for any athlete, and definitely going to talk about like how can a young athlete can go so soon. Definitely going to talk about that later, especially because it happened on the Rio Branco League, the A3 Sao Paulo State Championship. So definitely he has to take care of that. We want to see Victor Wembanyama healthy for a long, long time, not only as a basketball player but as a human being. So definitely he needs to take care of this first.
Absolutely. Prayers up to him, and hopefully he can make a quick and swift recovery. I also want to shout out to everyone watching on TikTok. You're listening to Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. We've reacted to the end of United States and Canada. The Canadians took out the U.S. tonight, 3-2 in Boston, unfortunately, and talking some other sports as well. Real quick on the MLB side of things, very interesting news today because they've ended their partnership with ESPN. So after this year, Sunday Night Baseball will be no more on ESPN because Rob Manfred came out and said that ESPN wanted to pay less to show the MLB. And Manfred said, quote, "Why would we take less from a network that is dying?" And basically said, "Screw you."
That's interesting. I mean, he is not entirely wrong. I mean, ESPN has been hemorrhaging for the last decade, losing subscribers. A lot of people cutting their cable, so you know, uh, not having access to ESPN anymore. And I think Major League Baseball is like, I'm going to go even deeper into streaming. I think because they have already a partnership with Apple, with Amazon. Uh, I think Sunday Night Baseball, which become a landmark in the league, might go to a streaming service. I don't see Fox picking up.
I mean, the World Series not being on network television just seems insane to me. But
No, no, I won't say. I won't say that. I think the leagues are still kind of wanted to keep their big finale to TV product. I don't see, but I think the regular season and more than ever is going to go towards streaming, and Sunday Night Baseball is going to be a big product for any streaming service.
oh, for sure, for sure. But I don't know if Sunday Night Baseball ever truly was that big of a product. It's not Sunday Night Football. Like it doesn't have that same cultural relevance. And for ESPN, like I don't blame them because like you didn't get to show any playoff games beyond the wild card. And for the MLB, ESPN's been a sinking ship. So like I think it kind of makes sense for both to move away from each other because ESPN needs to significantly downsize the amount they're paying for inventory. But it's also another problem because ESPN needs inventory to exist. So it's a very interesting situation, just a byproduct of the cord cutting and the other changes to the TV landscape.
Oh yeah, I mean, for looking at that point, it's definitely understandable. Yeah, ESPN because for ESPN, MLB probably is not as important product as, for example, football. I don't think ESPN cannot afford to lose Monday Night Football and the NBA. It simply cannot, in my opinion. I think MLB, they're showing, okay, we're gonna lose money, yeah, but we're not gonna be in big trouble.
Right. Well, they definitely can't afford to go away from the NFL. I mean, every major broadcaster has a deal with the NFL right now. They're scheduled to show the Super Bowl, I think, next year, maybe the year after, one of those 2 years, which obviously is going to be a massive boon for ESPN and ABC. And they could make up a lot of that lost revenue on that one event
Oh yeah.
that they haven't been able to. I mean, because think about it, yeah, ABC has not shown the Super Bowl since I believe 2005, which has been crazy that ESPN agreed to a contract with the NFL that did not allow them any access to the Super Bowl. Whoever signed that contract was stupid.
Not for Disney especially, because we're not talking only about the ESPN but ABC as well. Like, how can a one of the top four networks like, oh, I'm okay not broadcasting the biggest event in American sports. I'm okay. Like, you should not. Like,
You're
the
Disney.
yeah, yeah. Like, and you see your competitors, Fox, CBS, and NBC, all doing it.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. There's a reason why ESPN got into the situation that they've gotten themselves into, and it's because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One thing about baseball interesting, the Chicago Cubs made an interesting move signing Justin Turner, $6 million deal. I don't know how much this will affect the NL Central, especially being such even kind of uh, uh, division.
yeah. I'll be interested to see how Turner works out there. Anyway, so moving on to some college basketball real quick. Usually we'll start with basketballs, but I want to detour real quick because the basketball Iron Bowl was on Saturday. And that was a 1v2 match between Auburn and Alabama. And Auburn went into Tuscaloosa and won. And they maintained that number one ranking. They're 24-2 right now. Is it safe to say Auburn right now is prohibitive national title favorite? Because I mean they've rolled through basically every challenge that they've been presented. They probably have the player of the year in Johnny Broom, and they have a pretty deep bench. And to me, this seems like this is Bruce Pearl's best team that he has had.
Yeah, like Bruce Pearl has doing a tremendous job over in Auburn for the past few years, but they always seems like uh, I mean, probably the last time they were good it was in 2019. It was they were like really competitive. They went to the Final Four, but I think this team can even be better than that team.
I mean, they could be. I mean, this is, they've been number one now for virtually the entirety of SEC play because they took it from us there in early January and they haven't relinquished it. So they're going to have that number one overall seed more than likely unless they just completely collapse. And really a gut check loss too for Bama too because Bama went on to lose to Missouri last night in Columbia. So I think Alabama may be teetering a little bit. They come to Knoxville next Saturday and what will be a massive that could be a game for a number one seed on the line in
Yeah,
that this week. And speaking of Tennessee, they're off this week. They don't play any midweek game. They come back on Saturday with a massive, massive game at number 7 Texas A&M, a game that if you win puts you right in the thick of that hunt for a one seed. Think about it, they got Texas A&M this week. They get a midweek game next week at LSU, who's the worst team or the second worst team in conference play. And then they come home to play Alabama in a massive game. They go to Ole Miss, who's a pretty good team. They're ranked right now. And then they come home, final game to play the worst team in the SEC in South Carolina. If you can beat A&M and Bama, in my view, I mean, you have a very good shot of getting that number one seed. But do I trust this team to have the shooting to do that? I don't know. I just don't know because they beat Vandy last Saturday, but it wasn't pretty. Like they got torched in that first half, completely torched. But they willed their way back to win that game, and that was massive because this team has proven time and time again they have a very tough mindset. They're tough fortitude. I just am worried they don't play consistently well enough on offense to get to where they want to go.
yeah, it definitely was a little bit worrying. Definitely was a little bit concerning uh, that performance and the game against Texas A&M and Alabama can be an indicator of what this team's going to look like next month.
Right, right, and what your team right now, 5 games left in the regular season is this is setup time
Yeah.
now for the show. So we'll see what they can do here. Currently, the top 2 seed overall in the NCAA bracket reveal the other day, it is they're currently number 5 overall seed. They would be paired with Duke right now, which would be a very interesting matchup. Also,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Especially because of it's going to be a rematch. They had the face off a couple of years ago in the tournament.
Yeah, I don't remember us playing Duke in the tournament.
Oh yeah, that Oliver. That I remember
Oh
was a.
yes. Olivia Como, yeah, in the second round. It's almost midnight. I'm totally blanking. It is
Uh,
midnight.
I was like, I remember that game. That was
Oh,
one of
you're
the most.
totally right. Como had 27 that night.
Yeah,
For that now, I'm totally blanking. I've erased that game from my mind because we went on and lost to Florida Atlantic the next game.
yeah, I know, and I remember because that was uh, also one of the probably most exciting games Tennessee had in the tournament. I remember, the Duke had a not as a good team as they probably had in a couple of years, but Tennessee was strong. And after the game, a lot of fans were like, "No, we're gonna go deep." And then, as you point out, things did not work well.
Yeah, just lost a game that still is infuriating in Florida Atlantic. And that's what I'm worried this team could lose to a team like that again in the wrong scenario. So we will see what happens. Lady Vols are doing really well. They won again tonight over Alabama, number 18 in the country that they defeated. Tennessee right now is number 15. They beat Ole Miss on Saturday. I think Tennessee is going to be in a spot to host the first weekend, which would be huge for I was about to say Kelly Harper, not Kelly
No,
Harper
Ken
for
Caldwell. Ken
Kim
Caldwell.
Caldwell. Yes, it'd be huge for Kim Caldwell. Just an absolute success in the first season.
I mean,
Just
what a year! What a year on and off the court for her. Her baby was born, and she's still going strong. I mean, she's a tough lady.
yeah, very tough, and that team certainly takes on her personality. Baseball started too this past weekend. Tennessee baseball is 4-0 right now. I mean, and they're playing not great competition. I mean, they swept um, the Hofstra. That's the team they played. They didn't go to 9 innings in any game. They run ruled in every single game. And then on Tuesday they played UNC Asheville and won 29-4. So far in the first 4 games, they've outscored Hofstra and UNC Asheville 75-6. Um, so how good is this team actually? I don't know because they really haven't played any good competition. But still, to do that in baseball is impressive no matter who the competition is.
Oh yeah, like Tony Vitello always goes strong into those early season matchups. I remember that so many games they had double digits in those kind of matchups. That's the time you experiment, and because the true competition probably starts around mid to late March, when and not even probably by the end of the month. I imagine Tennessee is going to play some sort of a you know college basketball challenges. I
Yeah,
remember
they're going to Houston for a challenge. They're playing Oklahoma State, Rice, and Arizona.
yeah, and Arizona and Oklahoma State probably going to be their first true tests.
Yes, yeah, especially Arizona. It's by far the best team they play in the non-con, and then SEC play comes calling with multiple top 10 teams. But they play Florida, Arkansas, LSU, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M. Of course, that'll be a national championship rematch in Knoxville when that time comes. I mean, there's going to be SEC play is going to be insane. I mean, those tickets are going to be so expensive to get in. So, but this team is exciting to watch. A lot of young pitchers that are exciting to watch. Uh, this lineup can hit like no one's business. Um, We'll see what they're made up when they stack up against SEC competition, but I like their chances to do pretty well. Um, all right, real quick. So, solid something on college football because apparently there's still talks of a playoff expansion to perhaps 14 teams. And there's discussion now within the SEC. If the SEC were to get 4 guaranteed spots into the playoff, that the SEC might do a situation where they might take like the 8th highest finishing team versus the first highest finishing team, 7v2, 6v3, 6v3, and 5v4, and do what's called a playing game, and then whoever wins those 4 matchups gets a playoff spot. what what's your reaction to that, Gus? Because I think that is silly.
I think they're playing it wrong. I mean, with this new form, this new world of college football, where now more than ever the playoffs is what matters. It should be, for me, stay simple. First, since divisions now doesn't matter uh in college football in those conferences, there should be no college football. There should be no conference championship game, in my opinion. There should be whoever have the best record wins the conference. That's it. And you have, for me, one more week to do a playing game. For me, like, okay, you want to do the best, let's say ranked, the best 8 get in automatically. Then the rest goes in some sort of a play-in game. It would be better because then you don't restrict to conferences. You reward the best, no matter where this team is regarding conferences. You know, for me, it should be straight simple. I think the conferences are kind of trying to overreach themselves. They're kind of trying to protect spots, and there should be no protection. They should be rewarding the best team getting in.
Yeah, exactly. And this whole idea, like you could be the 8th best team. I mean, we're talking about a team that could be like 8-4, 7-5. They pull off one upset, they're also in the playoffs. No,
Yeah.
that just totally makes the regular season, frankly, irrelevant.
Yeah.
And
And
that
then,
is a really dangerous game because there's already people who are arguing the 12-team playoff makes the regular season irrelevant, which is dumb because
no,
the season has never been more entertaining. 12 teams is perfect.
yeah, the problem is not the number of teams getting in. The problem was the format. For example, the buys
Yeah,
didn't make sense. Um, you know, I think should be fixed that first. And if you're gonna expand, they should really thinking about, for example, ways to put the best teams in, no matter where they play.
exactly. Exactly. So hopefully they don't do that, but I'm afraid they're going to.
Yeah.
Um, in NASCAR, there was a Daytona 500 this past weekend, and William Byron in the 24 went back to back, won his second straight Daytona 500, and a finish that had a lot of fans complaining because once again, like every Daytona race, it ended in a massive crash fest. And I don't know why people are. Here's the thing: do I like the fact that every Daytona and Talladega race ends in a crash? No, I don't. I'd rather them race back to the line every single time. The problem is though the style of racing is it just what it is. Like whenever you have that many cars going that fast next to each other, that's what's going to happen. And I think NASCAR at some point should really think about: is it time to take the restrictor plates off? Is it time to let these guys go 210, 20 plus, and let them spread out a little bit and see what that does maybe to the racing? Um, because yes, there's a reason why they did it when they did it because there was a safety thing. These cars, though, to me, are way safer than they used to be. Although there's still some flipping problems. With Ryan Preece, he took off like an airplane like this on his flip, and that didn't make any sense. Um, but overall, like I thought the racing was a good race. Um, for especially compared to some recent 500s. And this week they go to Atlanta, which has become maybe my favorite track on the schedule. So, a good 500. Congratulations to William Byron on his Daytona 500 win. Um, And I guess we have some CONCACAF champions here in the first round here in North America.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. The first round of the Concacaf Champion Cup, the Champions League version of North America, has kicked off, and of course, the game everybody was interested in happened in Kansas City, Kansas, where Inter Miami won with none other than goal scorer Lionel Messi. 1-0. Messi scored, so that was a big result for Inter Miami. Now have a 1-0 lead going into the second leg. Uh, other American results: Cincinnati going to on the road, winning Montagua 4-1. Great lead going into the second leg. An American matchup between Colorado Rapids and LAFC 2-1 for the Colorado squad. And yeah, I think American team so far has done good. Of course, there's two American matchups, but yeah, I think look at this result. Inter Miami should, I mean, be one of the favorites. They're playing on Tuesday, Sporting KC, and LAFC Colorado next Wednesday, and Cincinnati Montagua next Wednesday as well. Oh, also Real Salt Lake 0-0 on the road. So that's all the the American teams into the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which for me, it's a big deal. I know for Americans are not so much because I mean they like their own product and they're saying the MLS are part of it. But for me, winning the CONCACAF Champion Cup have a big significance. There's also two other American teams. They're gonna go. They're gonna get in the round of 16. Columbus Crew and LA Galaxy as well. They're gonna get into the later round. Speaking of the Major League Soccer, they're kicking off their season this weekend. There's weekend actually tomorrow. The first game between LAFC and Minnesota kick off the season. You have Inter Miami, New York City FC also tomorrow night. The Nashville tomorrow.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
Nashville, England.
What?
Yeah, Nashville versus New England. Um, there, of course, you got a Texas Derby there. Houston Dynamo versus the FC Dallas. Atlanta United going to Montreal. So a lot of really good games.
Yeah. So soccer, American soccer season starts uh, of- unofficially this midweek, but officially this weekend. Uh, the LA Galaxy is a current champion. They won last season, so uh, they're gonna kick off their season actually on Sunday against San Diego FC, which is a debuting team. So we have one more add-on to
So
the
we're up to
league.
what, 32 now?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, 15 plus. No, they're 30, 30, 30.
I would say that's still too many teams for one soccer league.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
introduce relegation, please. They'll never do it, but it would be incredible.
Yeah. I would definitely support the idea, but I don't think any major league soccer commissioner would like to do that because, again, franchises they don't want to any kind of idea of uh, them being demoted and losing value to other teams. So
Exactly. It's a concept foreign to Americans, so
yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
yeah, yeah. And since we're in soccer, let's go to Brazil. We have the almost some are in playoff. Others are gonna be in playoff soon in the state championships. In the state championship there at the most, the state of São Paulo championship last week of the first round. It's gonna be on Sunday. Uh, the the of all the top four, only São Paulo and Corinthians are into the playoffs. Palmeiras and Santos are gonna have to win on Sunday to get in. Santos, they're winning and getting in, but Palmeiras, they're gonna have to win and hope for a draw between Ponte Preta and Bragantino, or yeah, they're gonna have to hope for a Ponte Preta to not winning. They're gonna have to lose or tie and Palmeiras to win to get in. Palmeiras current three-time champion, consecutive champions. Corinthians, they're gonna play probably the reserves because they're already qualified. They're gonna be hosting the playoff game in the quarterfinals. São Paulo actually lost on Thursday and kind of not didn't help Palmeiras because São Paulo lost to Ponte Preta. Ponte Preta has a lead in terms of point against Palmeiras. But for me, the interesting battle, you just mentioned relegation, is the relegation battle not going to the A2. You have four teams fighting for two salvation spots. And Inter de Limeira, which has not won a single game in the tournament. There are seven ties and four losses. They haven't won a game all season. And it's funny is that they might even be saved for relegation by a tie, because if they tied and Agua Santa and Noroeste lost their games, they're going to be saved. They're going to not be relegated, and they're going to finish the tournament without a single win. So that's insane.
And wasn't Agua Santa the team that made the championship last year?
The year before, 2023. Yeah, 2023. That was the team that made it to the final. Yeah. And so let's see what's going to be the relegation battle. I think it's going to be more interesting than the getting to the playoffs. For me, it's going to be Santos are getting in. I don't know Bragantino, because Bragantino and Ponte Preta, they're the only game that have direct implications in terms of playoff for both, because both needs to win to get in. They cannot afford to tie and be like, hoping for a result from somewhere else. And so that's going to be an interesting last week of first round in terms of the São Paulo State Championship. Another relevant state championship is the Rio State Championship, which is also going to have their last week drama, because as of right now, Fluminense and Botafogo, the current South American Brazilian champion, would have been out, and they play each other. Vasco and Botafogo play each other. Whoever wins get in. Fluminense, which is also out of the qualification, is going to play at home as well. And if they win, and for example, Madureiras tie, they're getting in. So it's going to be also an interesting last week of first round in the Rio State Championship. Brazilian Cup, the Brazilian version of the FA Cup, started this weekend. No big upsets. Vasco took care of business 3-0. Atlético Mineiro took care of business, winning on the road 2-0. So the two big teams in this round took care of business. No surprise there. Of course, there's some interesting results. Grêmio needed to go to penalties to eliminate São Raimundo from Roraima, which was very
Sounds like a small team.
what?
That sounds like a small team.
Very, very small. It's like if, for example, a team from South Carolina play a team from Wyoming. Yeah, so very remote area of Brazil. Porto Velho, actually from Rondônia, interesting result, eliminating Cuiabá, which was just last year in the first division of the Brazilian league, on penalties. And so that's kind of the summary of the Brazilian Cup, which gonna have the Paulista teams next midweek. Next week, Ponte Preta going on the road to face Concordia, and Inter de Limeira playing at home next Thursday against Vila Nova. I forgot to mention Neymar scored his first goal for Santos last Sunday, on the game against Noroeste, winning. And for me, I still want to see more from Neymar. I still think Neymar is a little bit shy, still not the Neymar that we all come to see, but I think he's gonna get his grip back. That's what he came to Santos to get his confidence
Yeah,
back.
to be honest though, like there is, I mean, there has to be at least some doubt. I
Oh
want,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Of course, Santos fans they're like, okay, all the excitement of his arrival is kind of wearing off. So now
yeah.
his
Like
they're not.
When Messi went to Miami, he electrified immediately,
Yeah.
and we're not seeing that with Neymar.
No, yeah, of course, fans are not booing him whatsoever. They're not criticizing him whatsoever. It's not a matter of they're not happy with Neymar. They're just waiting to see a big performance. They're just on a kind of okay. He's getting his grip back, but of course, for Santos, they definitely need that grip to be really back because Santos, of course, they are better by the end. I mean, they won their last two games, and that made Santos a viable candidate to get into the playoffs because, for example, 4 weeks ago, it felt like Santos might be facing a relegation battle, but the last two wins guarantee Santos into the playoff fight. But definitely, people are waiting to see more from Neymar. And last but not least, our beloved Rio Brancos, our Branco went on the road, really, really far travel, 6 hour bus travel to Birigui in a kind of uh, tough battle. Not a pretty game. Losing 1-0 on the road in a controversial penalty call, and when you're on the road, the refs tend to kind of be uh, more
They're
into the
going
local.
to be against you, and
Yeah,
but I will say this: I know they lost yesterday, but still, I mean, the fact it took them like 8, 9 matches to get a
yeah.
loss, I mean, that's still super impressive. And Rio Bronco is still in a great spot to make the playoffs and contend for.
Yeah, yeah. They're third in the table. They're 3 points behind the first place. I don't see any concerning. As you point out perfectly, it took Rio Branco 9 games to lose their, not being undefeated anymore. They're going to Araras on Saturday, which is oh, it's so funny. After a road game that was 6 hour bus drive, now it's only 40-minute bus drive. So way closer. The fans are gonna go heavily. They already have two buses to go to this game, so there's gonna be a lot of Rio Branco fans. They might be a 50-50 crowd even. So Saturday's game is gonna be interesting. Let's see if Rio Branco can bounce back.
Exactly. Yeah, vamos Tigre.
Vamos.
We're gonna get a dub on Saturday. But that is all the time that we have tonight. This very, very late edition. Also, just one brief statement I forgot to put in the American section. Anyone dissing James Pierce Jr. is a loser. So I'm just gonna put that one. I don't know if you saw that, Gus, but said
No,
but rumors were flying around during the NFL draft process that James Pierce Jr. had like anger issues or something. And I'm like, why in the world would it be coming up now? When we've never heard about it in Knoxville. So I'm here to say anyone dissing James Pierce Jr. is might as well be dissing me.
I,
So
I think I think this time now where you're evaluating NFL prospects to the draft, you kind of tend to overreact to silly stuff because right now is a lot of trying to since you're trying to find a perfect player, which there isn't, you tend to be picky.
right. Is it like Carson Beckett? You know, getting his car stolen? Is should that he lose draft stock over that too? I mean, it's just come
Yeah,
on, just silly.
yeah.
But in any case, we've been on for exactly an hour, which is short for us. But hey, it is what it is. It's a late night edition. I hate that the Americans didn't win, but hey, at the very least, the hockey was very, very good. But for Gus, Thomas down in Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, I'm Nick Chattanooga, Tennessee, the United States. Thank you so much for watching Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports, episode 168.